In the last tutorial, I showed you how to map a spatial CSV, that is a tabular file that has latitude and longitude, and we map that as points on top of a layer of New York City borough boundaries. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do something called a tabular join. In this case, we are going to start with a shapefile of community district boundaries, and we are going to join a CSV table that contains attributes of data by community district. We'll join those together to create a new polygon layer that has those same attributes. So first, I'm going to add community district boundaries to my QGIS project. So these are New York City's 59 community districts. I created a CSV that contains each community district, as well as the number of healthcare facilities in each district and the population of each district. And I'll provide the metadata and the sources of the data that I use to compile this in the notes, as well as a link to this CSV that you can use to practice this exercise. What I'm going to do is open up the Data Source Manager tool and navigate to the CSV file that I just showed you. So that window jumped behind the main project window, as has happened in previous tutorials. You just need to move the main window to find it. So the setting that I want to change here is from point coordinates, which is what we used in the last tutorial in our layer that contained latitude and longitude, to no geometry. And one thing that I would like to point out here is that whereas in the last tutorial, we added a CSV that represented individual locations as points, in this case, we're adding a CSV that represents larger districts. So latitude and longitude wouldn't be that helpful here, because what we're wanting is to join the number of healthcare facilities and the population to this shapefile that we've already got of community districts. So it's a different type of spatial information that we're adding to the map. So no geometry, attribute only table, that is what we want to select. And I will click on add and then close out this window. So it looks like nothing has changed. And again, that's because there's no spatial information already associated with this table. We're going to have to create that by doing a tabular join. With these two layers, I can take a look at the attribute table so that I can kind of visualize what my join is going to be. So the attribute table for community districts contains the borough CD code, which is the 3-digit code assigned to each community district. The first digit represents the borough. So districts that start with 1 are in Manhattan, 2 in the Bronx, 3 is Brooklyn, 4 is Queens, and 5 is Staten Island. Those codes are something you'll encounter a lot when working with spatial data in New York City, and even some non-spatial data. Shape length and shape area is a calculated measure of the total area of each polygon, which I'm not going to use in this case. And as we've seen, the facilities population by CD table has the same CD codes, but the name is different. It's just called CD in lowercase here, as well as the healthcare facilities and the population. So once I join this table to the shapefile, I'm going to have the same CD codes, healthcare facilities, and population, but it will be joined to the actual spatial polygon. So I'm going to double click on my polygon layer of community districts, and then I'm going to go to the Joins tab. I'm going to click this plus sign, and then the join layer, it automatically selected facilities population by CD because that's the only other layer available in my project. Sometimes it won't choose the right one automatically, and you'll have to specify there. And then for join field, I'm going to take CD and borough CD because those are the codes that are going to match each other. You'll see that the data types here match, which is good. If they don't match, let's say if one of these was stored as text instead of a numeric variable, I might have to do some additional work to convert the data type in order to be able to join them. And here it's going to automatically add all of this prefix to each variable in the table that I'm joining to my community districts. So I like to just delete all of that and get rid of it. And okay. And again, it looks like nothing has happened, but what we'll need to do is open up the attribute table. And what we're going to see now is the original borough CD. So this is the 3 fields that the polygons already contained. And then we've got these additional joined fields on them, which are healthcare facilities and population. Some of these have null values because there was no match. And the reason for that is that these are kind of not real community districts. These ones with the higher numbers, the last 2 digits are higher. These represent things like parks, like Central Park, Prospect Park, which you can see here, JFK, airports. Those don't have data on healthcare facilities or population because they don't contain healthcare facilities or population. So that's why those are null values. So when you get null values here, you want to take a look and inspect it and make sure it makes sense. In this case, it does make sense. So now that I have joined the healthcare facilities and population to my polygon, I'm going to export this as a new layer. So I will export by right-clicking on the community district's polygon layer and then save features as. Here I'm going to choose my file format. I'll save this as a shapefile. You could also save it as a GeoJSON or some other formats. The most common ones I use are shapefile, GeoJSON, and then CSV if all I need is a new table output, which is the case sometimes. In this case, again, I will use a shapefile. And here I need to click on these 3 dots. If I just enter a file name, I'm going to get an error about saving the file. So I need to make sure I'm in the right folder. And I will save this as CDs, facilities, population. And then this is going to export everything. I don't actually need shape, length, and area. And so I'm going to deselect those. And then I'm going to make sure that add saved file to map is checked so that it will appear automatically on my map. And I click OK. And now I have a new layer pop up on my map. And this is a layer with those fields permanently joined together. So this is now going to be reflected in my file folder that I have this layer here. And that's it. That's how you do a tabular join in QGIS.